guys, Veggie Gamer back, and we're back to Chamber of Secrets Harry Potter book reviews. Very Veggie Nights. Very exciting. That's what I'm tempted to say. We've got 3 more chapters today. Some really good stuff. Some Hufflepuff representation, which is always good in my book. We will get to that, obviously. Including a couple of bits which I was thinking, oh, that would have been great if it was in the movies. And quite frankly, a couple of bits where I think the movies to add a little bit of stuff and actually improves it. So that is, you know, it's fairly rare when that happens, guys. But there are definitely a couple of moments in these chapters where I thought, hang on, I remember that differently in the movie, and the movie actually doing it slightly better, and so we will get to those as we go. Thank you all so much for taking part in the Harry Potter book club. Very nice. This is something which is on the Patreon. You can pay as little as you want and get your comments read out at the tail end of the video. So after we cover the 3 chapters, I'll go through all the comments that are in that post on the Patreon. And it can be questions or thoughts or just opinions, you know, anything about the chapters at all. And that is such a fun part of doing these reviews, like having you guys interacting with it as well. And so if you want to be a part of the fun, you can go and check out the Patreon. Like I say, you can pay as little as you want. And you get access to everything on there, including the movie reactions and Buffy the Vampire Slayer and all the other things like that we post on there. If you can't afford it, guys, don't worry. All these reviews will be coming to YouTube for free as always. And I still read my comments, guys. I can't always reply to them, but if you leave a comment on the YouTube channel, I will still have read them, and so don't worry if you can't afford the Patreon. It's just there for people who wish to do so. Now, 3 more chapters to go. Let's keep this intro nice and synced, because usually I go on for like 10 minutes on the intros. Let's get on with oh, I should say one more thing. I'm sorry when I make mistakes, guys. It's a painful thing, because these videos obviously take a long time for me to make. I'm so sorry about the wait, by the way. And it takes a lot of research, and then obviously it takes a lot of recording time and stuff like that. And then I post it, and I realise I've got something completely wrong, and everyone points it out. I'm so sorry, guys. Unfortunately, that is likely to carry on happening, just because the way that my brain is. But I do try to get everything right. But you guys correct me a lot in the comments, which I really appreciate. It's important that you do correct me. But I'm sorry when I do get things a little bit wrong, guys, because it must be pretty frustrating to listen to. Either way, enough waffle. Let's go on with Chapter 11, The Dueling Club. And I completely forgot the most important thing I was meant to say in this intro, guys. So I gotta give a massive shout out to Raider Max on Twitter, guys. He's actually going to be helping me out with these summaries that I read at the start of each chapter. Those actually took me a lot of work before, so I did put out a thing on Twitter saying, hey, does anyone want to try and help me out with these? And so he's for this episode done the summaries, and you can go and check him out on Twitter, Raider Max. As in Raiders, Raider as in like Raiders as in the NFL team. And yes, thank you so much, Max. You really are helping me out with, get these videos out. And so let's get on with Chapter 11 of Chamber of Secrets, The Dueling Club. Harry wakes up in the hospital, and Madame Pomfrey checks his arm and lets him go. As he leaves to find Ron and Hermione, he runs into Percy, who makes a joke about Ron being in the women's bathrooms again. Turns out he was right, as Harry finds them in Moaning Myrtle's bathroom working on the Polyjuice potion. Harry tells them about Colin and Dobby from the night before. They already knew about Colin, but Dobby making the bludger attack Harry and learning that the Chamber of Secrets had been opened before is big news to them. News spread about Colin throughout the school, causing protected items to be traded around the school. Ginny looks visibly upset over what happened to Colin as she sat next to him in chem's class. In December, they agree to stay for Christmas at Hogwarts, as Malfoy will be staying as well. Later on in potions class, Harry causes a distraction, so Hermione is able to get the final ingredients from Snape's stash. A while later, they learn there will be a dueling club and are curious to see who will be teaching it. Surprise, surprise, it's Lockhart with the lovely assistant Snape. After getting owned by Snape, Lockhart plays it off as if he meant to do it. He then splits... They split the students into partners, but Snape makes Ron and Harry partner with others instead of each other. Harry was paired with Malfoy, Ron with Seamus, and Hermione with Maleficent Belstrode. of Slytherin. Harry and Draco were supposed to disarm each other, but instead start throwing hexes and jinxes at each other. Now, is that the right term? I'm still confused about what a hex is, guys. Or I know what jinx is because of Arcane. Loved Arcane, by the way. Get on with the review, Veggie. Doobie. See, now you lost your place. During this, Hermione and Belstrode got into a physical fight. Hermione lost. Lockhart decides that maybe it's better route for the teachers to teach, for them to teach the blocking spell first. Again, paired off with Malfoy, but this time, with the whole class watching, Harry is told to block Draco's attack, but Draco shoots a live snake, which causes a slight panic. Lockhart fails to get rid of it and instead makes it mad. The snake goes towards Justin, and Harry tells the snake to leave him alone in what he thinks is English. Very interesting. Harry is then pulled to another room by Ron and Hermione, who informed them that he was a Parselmouth, and no one understood what he told the snake. This was going to cause some uproar because the most famous Parselmouth was Slither's slithering himself. Slither's. That's very difficult to say. With most of the school now thinking that he is the heir, Harry goes to find Justin and let him know what happened, but runs into Hagrid holding a dead rooster. He continues to search again and to find that only Justin, but not only Justin, but nearly headless Nick had been petrified. Peeves was there too and went off alarming the rest of the school and blaming Harry. McGonagall arrives and tells Harry that it's out of her hands and takes him to Dumbledore's office. Now, obviously, a lot of that. Again, thank you very much, Max, for your help. A lot of that is very similar to the to the movie, but there are definitely some changes. So let's go into it. There's one bit which we'll get into it when we get into it, but there is in this chapter there is a bit which even when I was watching the movie, I remember being quite impressed with the acting of Hermione and Ron in one specific part, and that is a difference in this chapter. But we will get to that. So yes, Harry has woken up and his arm's feeling very, very stiff. It's very interesting because I'm pretty sure that as soon as the Dobby scene is over, we kind of don't hear about the arm ever again with Harry. But it does say that his arm is very, very stiff when he wakes up, and probably actually has to do some like exercises just to relax it and everything. Colin's bed is now like cordoned off, which obviously makes a lot of sense because obviously they know Harry's there. I still think that Dumbledore knew that Harry was awake, but you know they don't want. I mean, the thing is, they said in the previous chapter that the teacher's theory was that Colin was actually going to visit Harry. And so, obviously, him being there when Harry wakes up would obviously be a bad thing. So, his bed's been cordoned off. Very nice scene between Harry and Percy. I'm pretty sure this is the first time we've ever seen a scene where it's just Harry and Percy. I can't think of another moment where that would have happened. And so it's nice because Percy is clearly, just like all Weasleys, very, very pleasant to Harry. And it's nice to see Percy doing that because obviously previous scenes in this chapter he's been scolding Harry, more Ron, but Harry as well. So it's really nice that Percy is being so polite and being so friendly with Harry. That being said, he could also be very friendly to him because Harry won the Quidditch match. Saying that there's 50 points for Gryffindor. Now, is that 50 points given to Harry for doing so well in the Quidditch match? Or is that 50 points per game? I still get so blooming confused with the House Cup and the Quidditch Cup are two different things, aren't they? It's in my head. I still think that they're the same blooming thing, but the Quidditch is like a league, and so if that's the case, you can't be given points for the House Cup. The House Cup being the etiquette and being good around and doing well at school, right? Or am I think I've got the wrong term. But the one where like you're given points for doing well in class, you're taking away points if you're not concentrating in class or messing around. surely you shouldn't be able to get points towards that for what you do in Quidditch, because that's out of school activity, isn't it? I don't know. But yeah, it's very interesting that Percy does say about 50 points. And also, that's a lot of points. Yeah, it can't be. Unless it's because Harry was in such bad shape at the end of the game. I think I'm missing the point. As always, I'm always missing the point. But yes, so it's really nice that we had this little bit with Harry and Percy. It's nice to hear more about Percy. Because he was barely in Chamber. In fact, was he? No, yeah, of course he was absolutely in it. Because we had this scene later on with Crabbe and Goyle. But yeah, loving book Percy, quite frankly, guys. I think he's awesome. Obviously, he's not like the... He's quite a difficult character to get on with, but you can see his thinking about it. So yeah, I've always really cool that we had a scene with just Harry and Percy. So yes, Harry goes off and finds Hermione and Ron in Moaning Myrtle's bathroom. Says that Hermione's portable waterproof fires being a speciality of hers. And it's interesting because in Stone she's making fire all the time, isn't she? Several times. I'm pretty sure in the book it said it was blue fire, but in the movie it's just normal coloured, I think. But yeah, she's always been very, very good at this fire lark, and making it waterproof is pretty blooming useful as well. They've overheard about Colin from McGonagall and Flitwick. I gotta say, guys, these teachers need to be more... They're terrible at giving away secrets. They really are. Chamber of Secrets. Like, every other chapter, if not every chapter, is like, oh yeah, I heard these two teachers discussing something. It's like all the time they're not talking about something. And this is quite a major thing, because it does kind of... It would have come out anyway. It would have come out anyway, because Colin's gone missing. But it does kind of send the school into a bit of a panic. As the summarization said, how there is actually a trade system going on. I've got them down. Oh yeah, with talismans, amulets, and other protective items being handed out. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. So Ron actually speculates that Draco could have done what happened to Colin out of revenge for the Quidditch match, because we know from book, not so much the movie at all, but we know that that Draco is actually getting a lot of, I can't say that, getting a lot of criticism from Slytherin for not paying attention and noticing that the golden snitch was right behind his head, and so that's a pretty good theory to. Quite honestly, connection. I gotta say, at this point, it does seem like Ron is more the let's get Draco captain now, because I think up to this point, you know, in this Polyjuice Potion plot, to put it, you know, interesting. I feel like Hermione's been the one who's like really been pushing the idea that it's Draco, but now it's absolutely Ron. That's pushing it the most. Which makes sense. I mean, you know, Draco's horrible to everyone. But obviously, you know, each individual member of our group has like a different reason for hating him. A doopy. Hermione speculates that the creature inside the Chamber of Secrets could be a chameleon ghoul, which she's read about, which is a pretty cool thing. We actually hear about the other ghoul later on in these chapters as well. Do we ever see a ghoul? Or can you see a ghoul? No, of course you can, because if it's a chameleon ghoul, then you can see it. You just don't know that you're seeing it. But yes, she speculates that it could be like an invisible creature, or it could be a chameleon ghoul, which would not be a good thing to have at Hogwarts. And Ron says the line about where Dobby, you know, like breaking Harry's arm and stopping them from getting to Hogwarts and everything like that, and Ron says the line, if he doesn't stop trying to save you, he's going to kill you, which is very reminiscent of the line from Deathly Hallows Part 2, where Ron like says, if we die trying to save them, then I'm going to kill you. So I'm surprised that line wasn't in the movie, and again, if it was in the movie, I apologise, guys. I do refresh myself with the scenes when I do these reviews now, because I absolutely just had to. But I don't think Ron says that line in the movie, which is surprising, because it sounds like a movie line. anyway. So yes, the first years are now terrified. So, like I say, McGonagall and Flitwick talking about Colin. This theory of Colin going missing because of the creature was definitely going to come out there anyway. But everyone's freaked out, particularly the first years. Obviously, they've just lost one of their own, and they're like moving around in groups as if it's not safe to be anywhere, which quite frankly it isn't. So I'm not surprised, especially for first years. We hear about the fact that Ginny was sat next to Colin in Charms, and like she's visibly distressed about what happened to him, and Fred and George are trying to cheer her up by covering themselves in fur and boils and leaping out of her at like sudden moments. Really interesting way of cheering her up there. But Percy puts the kibosh on that by saying that he's going to write home and say that Ginny's having nightmares. Ginny's having nightmares, not specifically saying that that's because of Fred and George. But that's what stops Fred and George from doing it, though. So yes, we have this whole trade thing going on with amulets and talisman and protective items. We hear about Neville. Neville is not in this book much, guys. I keep on thinking, oh yeah, Neville, whenever he crops up. But this is amazing. The fact that he's actually buying these talismans and amulets. Oh no, he says that he's got an evil-smelling green onion, pointed purple crystal, and rotted newt tail. Not Newt, oh no, the guy from the movie, which we will be covering next, guys. Once we get the Hobbit out of the way, we will be covering Fantastic Beasts. And yeah, people are like point out the fact that Neville's pure blood. He has absolutely nothing to worry about. And Neville says a very interesting line. Now, I'm probably reading too much into this, but considering Neville is from such a renowned family and is pure blood, it does question if he might actually be onto something. He said, "Everyone knows I'm almost a squib." Now that's very interesting, because to me, in my head, a squib is sort of like, you're a squib, okay, can't do magic. That's it. It's just absolutely squib, can't do magic. But for the way that Neville's suggesting it, and maybe just Neville's just putting himself down, which is obviously a very Neville thing to do. The way that Neville's suggesting it is that there are levels to it. So obviously, powerful wizards, Voldemort's Harry. And then there's a tier system of ability with magic users. You know, hence why the company that Filch's been contacting, or at least looking into, help out wizards that aren't very good. So those would be a low tier. But what Neville's kind of suggesting, that there is almost a connection between ones who have very limited magic power and squibs. So squibs is at the end of a tier. I'm not sure if I'm making any sense, guys, but in my headcanon, that wasn't how I saw it. I thought squibs were basically, oh, that's it, absolutely cannot do magic. Maybe it is the fact that they are able to do magic, but it is so difficult for them to do it that they can't do it. That made no sense whatsoever, what I just said. So if you know what I just said, please write your answers on a postcard and send them to, I don't know, the BBC. Don't. Right, I don't know if I made any sense, guys. Can someone make sense of what I just said? That'd be greatly appreciated. Doobie do. So yes, Ron and Hermione choose to stay at Hogwarts for Christmas. The Weasleys are off to see Bill in Egypt. Hermione not coming home for Christmas. Wow. Parents are going to be pretty gutted about that, aren't they? But she's doing it for a good cause. I mean, this is the thing. It's like, she's like, this is a strange comparison, but she's kind of reminding me of Mary here, where she's completely and utterly focused on getting the job done. I should say Mary from Lord of the Rings. She's completely like tunnel vision. Okay, this is what we're gonna do. So she's willing to give up her Christmas. She's willing to disappoint her parents by not going home to see them. I don't know what excuse she would have used. That's a good point. Ron could say that I don't fancy going to Egypt, which, you know, which obviously would upset Molly and Arthur to an extent, but I think it'd be a lot more understanding, especially as the rest of the the rest of the Weasley students are staying over Christmas as well, so that's him sorted. Hermione, that's kind of sad. I want to know what excuse she made. Presumably she used an excuse. She didn't tell the truth, because that would be confusing for her parents, who are already very confused. Yes, Hermione elects herself to steal from Snape's closet because she has a clean record, which is such a imagine Hermione a year ago saying something like that, remembering that this is, before the... Oh, no, it was after the troll incident, wasn't it? It would have been, wouldn't it? But, yeah, this is just showing how far Hermione is already becoming. And the fact that she's protecting Ron and Harry by saying, it's okay if my record gets a hit, but if you get caught again, then you're going to get turfed out. So, good on Hermione. I freaking love book Hermione, guys. And I love movie Hermione as well, guys. One thing I want to make clear is that whenever I say, oh, prefer the book version, at no point yet have I been angry at the movies. I don't think that's ever going to happen, guys. There have been bits where the changes that they make to Hermione, I can now absolutely see why book readers would have been frustrated with them. But yeah, we'll see. Apparently, the later books are the ones where things really start to shift up. So we'll get to those when we get to them. So yes, so this is obviously like a book exclusive scene where they had to steal the final ingredients from Snape, which makes a lot of sense, of course. He has all the good stuff. Obviously, we see his storeroom in a later movie. Much later, in fact. I think it's is it Order of the Phoenix? Or no, or is it Goblet? Anyway, it's Goblet. Is it because Neville's grabbed some stuff? Yeah, to help Harry swim about. It's Goblet. I'm pretty sure it's Goblet. But yeah, we have it here where like Harry has to make a distraction. Snape's already moaning about Gryffindor in the lesson, and it's very interesting that basically like Draco's like pulling faces at Ron and Harry, and it says that they're not retaliating or giving any back because they'll get detention if they do it, whereas Draco's just allowed to do it to his heart's content. So what a horrible experience these potion lessons must be for them, seriously. Oh yeah, it says that they'll get detention faster than you can say unfair, which is a very funny line, I thought. Another very funny line in the book, it says, as Snape walks off to bully Neville. And yeah, Harry then throws a firework into Goyle's cauldron, which causes all sorts of panic. Like, everyone gets splashed with it. It says that I think it says Goyle's eyes? Or is it says that he's put his hands over his eyes, which are now the size of dinner plates. So it must be the eyes. Oh my god, horrible. And like Draco's nose is like the size of a melon and stuff. It's absolutely weird imagery. I'm not surprised that this scene wasn't in the movie, guys, because quite frankly, this would have been scary. I don't care how much comedy music you play over it. These visuals would have been absolutely terrifying, in my opinion. But yes, I've written down here that maybe I'm being unfair on Snape in a way, but I find it very interesting that Snape's first response to this happening, because he knows that this isn't an accident. Someone has obviously caused something, and then he finds the firework later on. But his first response is to say to get everyone who's been splashed to get in line to get a deflating draft. I thought that was cool, and that was the first thing that he would think. Because I, in my head, would think that he would just be going, "Oh, who did that?" and like going nuts and like reprimanding people. But the first thing he thinks is, "Okay, I'm a teacher. I need to make sure the students are okay first." I like that. Maybe that's me being unfair on Snape, the fact that I would think that would be his first response, but that was his first response though, before he throws out the threats, which he does then throw out threats whilst looking straight at Harry, who's pretending to look confused. Yes, Draco's nose is the size of a melon. Harry's trying not to laugh at that, which is fair. I find it terrifying. And yeah, that is a cool scene. Not surprised it's not in the movie, because quite frankly, I'd probably have to look away from it, because that sounds horrible. Eyes the size of dinner plates. Anyway. Dueling club time, guys. Now, this is obviously another big scene from the movie, but it's definitely done very differently in the book here. Seamus and Dean are actually the first ones who are noticing the poster and saying that they're interested in attending. It's in the evening this time. It is in the Great Hall, but there's like a golden stage at one side of the of the hall. It's not like on a because they have a fancy table in the movie, but in this it's like a golden stage. It's obviously very, very Gilderoy. They think that Flitwick's actually going to be running it, because there are rumours at least that Flitwick was actually a dueling champion when he was younger. And Harry like audibly, I think it says, as long as it's not, and then Gilderoy and Snape come out. Well, basically the two worst people it could have been. The fact is both of them is glorious. It's Gilderoy's idea to actually, he actually went to Dumbledore and asked if he could actually get this club going. It's not a club, it's just a class, isn't it? And he refers to Snape as his assistant, which you got to know Snape has got to absolutely love. Snape is like visibly... You know that he's agreed to do it, so he can get us some free shots in. You know, that's why I think he's doing it anyway. I don't think that he's been made to do it. I think that he probably said, yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it. So that's excellent. Oh my goodness, yeah, Gilderoy says that Snape knows a tiny bit about dueling. He keeps on saying these bloody things to the worst possible people you could say it to. And like Gilderoy like bows very, very flamboyantly, and Snape like jerks his head back and forth. Complete disrespect. And Ron like says that wouldn't it be good if they finished each other off. Which again is a brutal line. Expelliarmus actually knocks Gilderoy against the wall and off the stage. Now, Expelliarmus, this is the first Expelliarmus that we're witnessing, isn't it? Because in later moments of Expelliarmus, it removes whatever a person is holding. But to expel something is to remove it from somewhere, and so it could be expelling someone from the ground, because Gilderoy is like knocked into the air and actually hits a wall in this version. In the movie, Hermione's like, "Do you think he's all right?" Like that. Whereas in the book, she's like, "Do you think he's all right?" Like being the fangirl that she is and everything. So it's interesting that line was still kept in the movie, but it's definitely like a lot more of a concerned for, you know, a person who may have just hurt themselves rather than someone that she absolutely adores. I personally like the fangirl aspect of book Hermione, but yeah, they kept that in, and both Ron and Harry both say "who cares" at the same time, whereas in the movie it's just Ron. Everyone is actually paired up by Snape and Lockhart. It's a Freudian slip for this scene, isn't it? And so, actually, I've got it down here. It reminds me of Order of the Phoenix, because there is obviously that scene in Order of the Phoenix in the movie where you have all the characters doing Expelliarmus on each other. We're getting this here. It's just not going quite as well. And so we hear about Millicent Belstrode, who is paired up with Hermione. I gotta say this, guys, and okay, I'll put it like this. I'm not a big fan of the way that describes the people that we're not meant to like in the books, guys. It's very... Now, obviously, this happens in all media anyway. I think it's probably because they're kids. I just don't like the fact that... Because it's Harry's point of view that we're hearing it from. We're hearing about the fact that she's like a ghoul, and like Ron later on says that she's ugly and everything, and talking about her size and everything. That being said, these are 13-year-old kids who would be thinking stuff like that about each other, because, you know, that's what kids are like, unfortunately. But I don't like the fact that it seems to always be consistent with the fact that the characters who how can I even put this, who aren't, you know, classically good looking, are always the villains, you know what I mean? But that is the case in all media, and so what you gonna do? But the fact that it's talking about kids does upset me a little bit. So I felt sorry for Millicent, which is, you know, shocking, because she has Hermione in a freaking headlock in a second. I think that she was cast, because when I typed in the name, it did come up with a picture, but I'm pretty sure that character never says anything. I'm pretty sure. Unless that's her in Deathly Hallows Part 2, which I don't think it is. It does say her name though. Okay, I might have to look up who that is. Oh yes, no. So obviously Harry's been paired up with Draco, and they start like doing spells which they're not meant to be doing, and like, you know, Gilderoy's like saying, "Oh, you're meant to disarm each other," and Harry does the Rictus Empire spell, which in the movie just like spins Draco in the air and makes him land on his bum. But in the book, it's like a tickling charm. In fact, it says tickling charm. And so Draco's like desperately trying not to laugh on the floor and everything. And I mean, the thing is, like, Rictus Empire in the movie is just Expelliarmus again, isn't it? So it's kind of strange that they didn't just say Expelliarmus. And I think that what it is, and we've discussed this several times, particularly in the first two movies, it's very clear, at least to me, that there is a willful attempt to make Harry not do anything immoral. And so Rictus Empire in the movie is him retaliating to Draco, using a spell to knock him to the ground. Whereas Rictus Empire in the book is definitely something, this will humiliate Draco a little bit. And so there's certainly no tickling at all in the movie version. So again, I feel like that's a part of the book Harry being a lot more realistic and a little bit more spiteful towards Draco. You know, rightfully so and everything, but it's one of these things which, you know, clean-cut movie Harry wouldn't be using a tickling charm on him. Because quite frankly, movie Harry doesn't seem to have that much of a problem with Draco. He deals with Draco whenever Draco's there, but in the book, Harry spends 90% of his time at Hogwarts thinking about Draco. He's living rent-free in his head, as they always say. Which again is more realistic. Anyway. Draco does his spell on him to make him quick step, which quite frankly I would have loved to see. This book is full of Harry getting humiliated. And we have a scene later on in these chapters, guys, which we need to talk about, which is definitely not in the movie, which is absolutely amazing. There's so much Harry getting humiliated and embarrassed by Gilderoy, by Draco, by a lot of people, by Colin even. None of that is in the movie. But I think it's an important part of it. I do. I feel like, you know, being humiliated at school at that age it does feel like the end of the world. And I feel like they start to do that in Azkaban and Goblet, which is the one with the ball. That's with the Christmas ball. That's Goblet, isn't it? Where we actually get Harry being a little bit more humiliated a little bit, and I think it's important, guys. I do. I think that movie Harry only started getting going in Azkaban. That's my opinion. I know that I mentioned that a lot because I always say about the fact that during Azkaban, I actually say in my movie reaction, I didn't realise that Harry had I thought he was a blank canvas. I didn't realise he had this edge to him. And he has his edge to him in the book. But again, trying to keep Harry this, you know, baby face, as I've said before, but, you know, this not perfect, but this completely unimmoral person is what they went for in the movies. Anyway, I am waffling a good one. So yeah, Hermione's in a headlock with Maleficent. They both dropped their wands, and that is a visual which I kind of want to see, guys. Poor little Hermione, getting wrecked by Millicent, and yeah, Harry actually breaks that up, but then Gilderoy's like, consoling everyone and like says, don't worry, the bleeding will stop soon, Boot. I looked up Boot, guys, because I was just interested. And I think that he is going to be character later on in the books. It's Terry Boot, apparently. And I shouldn't have said this, but I did. I see that eventually he actually ends up marrying Padma, so there you go. Or the Patel sisters. So now it's Harry on stage with Draco, which at first I was thinking, oh, that's really different. They're not even going to be on stage. But no, they do get up on stage. Snape obviously selects them. Lockhart shows Harry how to counter or block a spell and drops his wand in the meantime. And I just says, "I'll just do what I do." And Harry says, "What? Drop your wand?" Snape actually whispers in Draco's ear. Now, is that suggesting that Snape is telling him what spell to do? Or is he just like saying, "Give him one from me, Draco"? I'd imagine he's probably telling him what spell to use. Just to what? Because that would be winding up Lockhart again, because Lockhart's like saying, I said only disarming spells. So maybe he's winding Lockhart up by telling Draco to do that. Dooba-dooba-doo. So yes, so obviously Draco produces this snake, just a black snake in the book. And Harry, from our standpoint, because obviously we're inside Harry's head, he tells the snake to stop in English. But obviously then he realizes later on that no one else heard that. Now that would have been an interesting decision. You know what? I would have preferred that. If in the movie version we hear Harry saying, "Hey, stop that," but maybe have it like a little bit distorted with like a strange sound around it, and everyone's like looks at him like, what the heck's going on? That would have been quite creepy. But obviously in the movie version, to make it absolutely plain obvious what's going on, we just hear him speaking Parselmouth, which is fine. That's such a that works perfectly well as well. But I do think that could have been even creepier if in the movie version we hear Harry speaking in English and no one can understand him. I think that'd been pretty cool. So right now, guys, this is the perfect example of why it's great that I recheck the movie when doing these. Because I thought this. I think what it is that the book makes Ron seem almost worried and angry at Harry. Because the line, "You're a Parselmouth, why didn't you tell us?" is in the movie. But it's more like, why didn't you tell us? Whereas in the book, at least the way that I read it at least, it was like, "You're a Parselmouth, why didn't you tell us?" Like he's actually like angry at Harry, like, what the heck are you playing at, you know? So that is in the movie, and Harry has no idea that he was speaking anything other than English. And that's why everyone thought that he was actually egging the snake on. A lot of these lines in the movie are taken by Hermione. I think in this example, that's absolutely fine. The whole thing with Mudbloods last time, I'm definitely with the vast majority of you guys who are saying that Ron should have said all those lines. Here, I think it's completely believable that Hermione would have learnt that about Slytherin. So yeah, she does get a little bit more lines in the movie than she does in the book, which I'm absolutely fine with in this case. Harry has a great line saying, "Do you want to tell me what's so wrong about stopping a giant snake from biting off Justin's head?" That's brilliant that you did it. Hufflepuff. And I says that Justin doesn't need to join the headless hunt because of Harry, intercepting anything. That is a great line, especially with the fact that we had the headless hunt showing up earlier on in the book. I mean that was a great line, which could have worked in the movie version as well. I thought that was really funny. And yes, and Ron fills Harry in about the fact that Slytherin's sibling could speak with snakes, all the S's. And the fact that that was 1,000 years ago, and so it's very possible that anyone could be potentially the heir of Slytherin. So pretty accurate scene in the movie there, but improved, I think, in the books. So it's getting very, very cold. Obviously, it's getting towards Christmas and so on. And Sprout is like putting socks and scarves onto the mandrakes, which is amazing. We got another great line about mandrakes later on. I would have liked to see that as like little scene to like putting scarves onto the mandrakes. That's adorable. I think she says that she doesn't trust anyone else outside of herself to do it. Ron and Hermione are playing chess, and this is the moment, guys. This is the moment where I think the movies made an improvement. Let me know what you think in the comments, guys. And I'm pretty sure that I've got this right. I'm pretty sure that this, at least at this point in the book, maybe it's going to come up later on. That's the thing. Because obviously the movies move some things around. But at this point in the movie, guys, we are in the library. Hufflepuffs are on one table, you know, the cool table. And then we have Ginny just on like off nearby. And then we have Harry, Ron, and Hermione at another table. And like Harry's like just looking around, like thinking, you know, everyone freaking thinks I'm the heir. And then he looks to Ron and Hermione. And this is what I was talking about, great acting, guys. I remember when I first watched this scene thinking, wow, these are good actors. Because Ron and Hermione, in the movie, look up at Harry like, hiya, I'm your friend, right? You know, it's like they care about Harry, but they are worried that he is the heir of Slytherin, and so they both look at him sort of like, all right. I think I remember at the time thinking that's absolutely brilliant. That is not the case in the book, guys. Hermione's like said to Harry, if you're so worried about Justin, go and find him and tell him what happened. So she's not worried at all about him at this point. So that, for me, is definitely a gold star moment for the movie. I thought that scene was great, and it really puts Harry in a wow, everyone's against me moment. In fact, we have another one coming up which is even more like that, guys. I think that's in the next chapter. So I think that was a good choice. Let me know what you think in the comments, and if I got it wrong, I apologize. I'm an idiot. So Harry does go off to try and find Justin to try and explain what had happened. He walks past McGonagall's classroom and he can hear her being shouting at a student who apparently, from what he can gather, has accidentally turned his friend into a badger. If he's Hufflepuff, that's fine. But yes, I thought that was a nice little line. And the fact that Harry's like, you know, too focused on what he's doing. He wants to have a look at what's going on, but he's just trying to find Justin. Luckily, he finds Justin soon enough. And Harry goes into the library and sees a table full of Hufflepuffs. Obviously, we do have this scene, kind of, in the movie. But it's definitely done better in the book. Again, it gives Harry this edge of being angry, though. At the Hufflepuffs. And I know that I'm a Hufflepuff, guys, and it may sound like I'm being biased, but they have every right to be worried about Harry. I honestly do. If Ron and Hermione and Harry have a right to be suspicious about Draco, the Hufflepuffs, I'm such a freaking... This is clearly... I'm clearly saying this because I'm a Hufflepuff, aren't I? I mean, that's obvious. It must be. But the Hufflepuffs do have a right to be suspicious about Harry, guys. It's not just them. They're so defensive about the Hufflepuffs. Harry does... Harry must understand that it doesn't look good for him. And so anyway, I'm getting into Team Hufflepuff again here, guys. But yeah, Harry like goes into the invisible section to hide. And overhears Ernie talking with Hannah. And all the other Hufflepuffs are listening in as well. About Harry and like the fact that Ernie's like told Justin to stay up in the dorm and everything. Obviously, Hufflepuff's not particularly known for their bravery, but Ernie freaking stands up to Harry here, guys. I am such a mark for Hufflepuff. this is my problem. I worry that I'm coming off as someone who's just being completely biased here, but I think that Ernie's pretty cool in this scene, guys. I'm sorry. I'm in disgrace. I really am. But anyway, they're talking about Justin and say that the fact that that Justin mentioned that that he was actually down to go to Eton, and how that would annoy a dark wizard. That was an interesting line. I'm wondering if that's legit or if that's just Ernie being paranoid. But if dark wizards are annoyed at muggles who are well educated, I don't know. That was a fascinating line. I thought that was really interesting. That maybe just in Ernie's head he's thinking that that's a connection. And yeah, Hannah's like saying, "Oh, but Harry's so nice and everything," which is interesting because I looked up Hannah Abbott because obviously we've talked about the Abbott family in these reviews before. I wanted to make sure I knew who she was, and she's one of the girls who's like laughing at Harry during Goblet of Fire with the badges, and she's like when I think that she's with Cedric, maybe. Oh, I'm not sure. Anyway. She's awesome because she's a Hufflepuff. But I wanted to make sure I knew exactly who she was. And so then Harry's like, so angry, and yet she's like steps out and like says, "Hey, where's Justin?" He's visibly angry at them, and the pub's like, "Oh," they're all like, "Oh no, what have we done?" Again, not known for their bravery. And Ernie is scared, but freaking challenges Harry. And like says, before you get any ideas, my family goes back 9 generations. So getting that is like, I'm one of you, but you know. So that was which would be a line which would really annoy Harry, quite frankly. And Harry like says, "Well, I don't care if you're pure blood or Muggle born." And Ernie like says, "Well, you I've heard that you hate those Muggles that you live with." One for the Hufflepuffs! That was a good line. It's like, Harry's like, "Yeah, but you would hate them as well if you had to live with them." So I thought that was a great line. So yeah, like, so eventually Harry just has enough and like storms out. And walking into Hagrid, who's wearing a full face balaclava covered in snow. But he knows it's Hagrid because who else is going to be that tall? He actually gets knocked to the floor, in fact. And Hagrid mentions about the second rooster getting slaughtered, and about that he's going to ask for permission to put a charm around the crypt, which is interesting. You'd think that someone else would do it for Hagrid, or maybe that's what he meant. Anyway. So yes, I got down here, no shot of Hermione and Ron looking scared in this part of the book at least. Then obviously Harry like comes up, like, I think he trips over Justin, in fact, and sees a Nick who's like black and smoking. Which is a cool image, guys. It's certainly not like that in the movie. The fact that that petrified ghost would have that effect. And Bloomin' Peeves, instead of Filch, finds him, as the summary said. And like is instantly making fun of Harry and like trying to get him in trouble and everything. Or maybe Peeves is actually scared. The fact that Nick can get petrified absolutely means that Poltergeist could get petrified as well, I would imagine. And then Ernie's there straight away again, like, "You did it!" Pointing at him. And McGonagall's like saying, "Enough of that, McGonagall," which is his surname. So yeah, Ernie getting some screen time in this, which I do approve of. And yeah, like Peeves are like singing a song about Harry, and like McGonagall tells him to go away. Again, the power which people have over Peeves is an interesting aspect to me, guys. They get she makes a fan and gives it to Ernie to waft Nick away, which is great. I'd really like that line. And yeah, and tells Harry that it's out of my hands. Takes him off to go and see Dumbledore. Very minor thing, guys. And I think I'm right in here. This is going to be one of these things where you say, actually, that's not true. But it says that there's an ugly gargoyle out the front of Dumbledore's office. Now, in the movie, it's like a gorgeous eagle. I think it's an eagle. which is obviously be quite Ravenclaw. It's a bird at least. But no, it's a hideous gargoyle in front of Dumbledore's office. It can't be a gargoyle because it doesn't sound like there's any water running through it. Now, I believe this is the case, guys. If a stone statue, like, you know, of like a grotesque, has water running through it, then it's a gargoyle. If it doesn't have water running through it, like, you know, rainwater or anything like that, but if it doesn't have rain going through it, then it is a grotesque, not a gargoyle. And so there's no mention of water here, so it's technically not a gargoyle, it's a grotesque. And that pointless little fact that I've thrown in there is where we end this chapter. And so, great chapter. I do think the scene with Hermione and Ron, I remember, like I say, I think this is the third time I said it, I remember even when I was watching thinking, well, these two good actors. The fact that they had to be this person's friend, but also be scared of them. I think they're great. I think they do a really good job in that scene. And that is an addition from the movie, which I'm giving my Veggie seal of approval. I thought that was good. Let's move over to chapter 12, the Polyjuice Potion. Harry arrives in Dumbledore's office and waits for him alone. While waiting, he puts on the sorting hat and it repeats that he would have done well in slivering, which Harry tells it is wrong. He then turns to a bird which almost immediately bursts into flames right as Dumbledore walks in. Dumbledore tells Harry the bird is a phoenix named Fox, and explains the abilities including healing tears and carrying large amounts of weight. Hagrid bursts into the room proclaiming Harry's innocence, which Dumbledore already knows he didn't do it. He then asks Harry if there's anything that he wants to tell him, which Harry says no, even though there is. Fast forward to Christmas Day and the potion is ready. Hermione says they will need bits of whoever they're going to be changing into. And she already has her hair from the fight with Bulstrode in the dueling club. After Harry and Ron cause Crabbe and Goyle to pass out, they hide the bodies in the closet and return to the potion. They all take it, Harry turning into Goyle, Ron turning into Crabbe, and their voices changing as well. We will discuss. Hermione stays in the store and tells them to go without her, not knowing where the common room is for slivering. We'll get into that as well. They ran into Percy, who questions them, and they're actually saved by Malfoy shortly after. Malfoy takes them to the common room where he shows them an article of Arthur Weasley being punished for the flying car and mocks his family. He also tells them he wished he knew who the heir of Slytherin was because he would help them. And his father told him that the last time it was opened, a Muggle-born died. Whoever opened it was sent to Azkaban. Which I'm pretty sure is definitely the first time we've heard about Azkaban. As soon as that happens, the potion starts to wear off and they rush back to the bathroom. They find the reason why Hermione didn't go with them is because she'd grabbed a cat hair, not human hair, which caused the potion to turn her partly into a cat, which is amazing. So, thank you very much, Max, for helping out with that. So the office scene is pretty damn accurate in the movie. One thing it does say that there's lots of there's quite a bit of noise from all the little metal machines. So I think the metal machines are there, but they're pretty much silent in the movie. In fact, I'd say that they are silent in the movie. But in the book, it does say that they are making quite a bit of noise and making like little puffs of smoke and so on. I got here that McGonagall must have just left Nick and Justin, but of course Filch's there. Filch's there in the movie, and there's lots of other people there in the book. In fact, we just said that Ernie helps get rid of Nick, and someone takes Justin to the infirmary. Yes, Harry actually puts the sorting hat on here. He doesn't just talk to it across a distance, which is, yeah, I'm fine with either of those. I think it's visually, like, there's something nice about the fact that he's just talking to it as if it's just like another person instead of actually having to wear it to have that conversation. I did write down that I didn't remember. Well, I did write down that the fact that Harry actually says you're wrong. Thinking that didn't happen in the movie, but I've rechecked, guys, and he does actually say that, which is good. So that's the edge of Harry, you know. So yes, we have Fawkes' regeneration. Harry, like, you know, is probably freaked out by it in the book. In the movie, he's freaked out about it as well. But it's like it says like he's looking for water to try and put it out and everything. Hagrid comes in with his bloomin' rooster and just feathers going everywhere. Like, he does have it in the movie, but in the books, like, there's just feathers going absolutely everywhere whilst Hagrid's like swinging it around and everything. And one nice thing I think that when Dumbledore like says, "Is there anything that you want to tell me?" the book basically lists through several things that Harry would love to tell Dumbledore, but chooses not to. That was a nice way of doing it. Because yeah, there's a lot of things that he wants to confide with Dumbledore. In fact, I think even in my movie reaction at this point, I was saying that he should confide with Snape. Definitely don't confide with Book Snape. Definitely do not confide with Book Snape. Fred and George have started like marching in front of Harry. These lines are in the movie, but they're basically just like saying it at distance. Saying, "Make way for the heir of Slytherin," or "a seriously evil wizard coming through." Those lines are in the movie. They're just like shouting it over at Harry, but in the book, they're like marching in front of Harry, like as if they're like working for him and everything, which is just cruel. It does say that Harry actually really likes the fact that they're doing it though, because they're the only ones who are taking the idea that he's the heir of Slytherin in this ridiculous manner. You know, if they genuinely thought it was real, they probably wouldn't be doing it. And so he actually really likes the fact that they're doing it. So that was nice. I like the fact that that's actually cheering Harry up in an extent, because it's like thinking, at least they're not scared of me, you know. One of them like says that he's off to the Chamber of Secrets to have a cup of tea with his fanged servant. Ginny's having none of it, and is like really angry at them for doing it. I got down garlic here. I think it's George, or one of them is like trying to ward off Harry with garlic, which is not a vampire. But I guess, yeah, they say fanged serpent, so maybe they do think it's a vampire related. But yeah, they're like you know, teasing Harry with like trying to repel him with garlic, and Ginny's having none of it. Lots of nice mentions of Ginny in these chapters, guys. I got to admit. So yes, Harry's actually likes the fact that they're doing it. Now, this is another change in the movie. I don't know what I feel about this now. I think they're both really good. I think they're both very, very valid, in fact. At this point in the movie, Harry is even doubting himself. He like says, "How do I not know that I'm not the heir? I may be doing it without even knowing," which is ironic because it's kind of what's happening with Ginny. Whereas that's not the case, at least at this stage in the book. Harry is just angry at everyone who thinks that he's the heir of Slytherin. But yeah, that was on Christmas Day in the movie, when he said that to Ron and Hermione, the fact that even he doesn't know if he is the heir of Slytherin. Draco's actually annoyed at the fact that people are thinking that Harry is the heir of Slytherin at this point, because it's kind of like kind of stealing his thunder in a ridiculous way. So yeah, it just insane. Draco's complicated when it comes to this. Yes, the Weasleys are off in Egypt visiting. The Weasley's parents are off in Egypt visiting Bill. And Percy has told him that he's staying to help the teachers in this troubling time. Such a political way of putting it. I really appreciate Book Percy, guys. He's one of the best parts of these books so far, in my opinion, which I would never have thought would have been the case. But I really like all of Percy's dialogue on it. I think he's great. Very interesting character. So yeah, Christmas Day, and Hermione just bursts into the dormitory. I don't think that, in my headcanon, there was a spell stopping girls and boys from going into each other's dormitory. But no, Hermione just bursts into Gryffindor boys' dormitory with presents and so on and so forth. So we didn't have any of this during the movie. Hedwig comes along, which is nice. Actually, Harry's like surprised to see Hedwig at this point, and he says that because Hedwig has been given the cold shoulder since what happened with the car. So Hedwig's been brooding on Harry. That's a long time. He gets a toothpick from the Dursleys, which is very nice, including a note saying, is it possible for him to stay at Hogwarts over the summer as well? He gets some treacle fudge from Hagrid, which is a nice reference to, I think, the first book. I think it was the first book where they had treacle fudge. But as I remember, it was so true that basically cemented his teeth together, and so he's put it next to the fire to soften it down. Nice little throwback there. He gets a book from Ron called Flying with the Cannons, which is about his favourite Quidditch team. Interesting. It'd be nice to know if these are regional. I don't know if Chudley is a place. It does sound like a place. But yes, apparently Harry is a Cannons fan. I do speculate how... We know that there is wizard radio stations, which is just for wizards. And magazines as well. Is there television stations? Is that how they're watching it? Or is it some sort of, magical thing where you could just make the game appear there? But then how do they charge money for it, though? Presumably there is money involved in it. There must be money involved if it's sport. So yeah, is there wizard television? And has there been already and I'm just forgetting? Because that'd explain why how he's able to become a Cannons fan. And he gets an eagle feathered quill from Hermione, which is very nice. He gets another sweater from Molly, which is obviously adorable. And I guess Fred's bewitched Percy's badge to say Pinhead instead of, I guess, Prefect, I guess. So yes, Hermione is absolutely, again, just focused on the absolute job. I think it's because it's her baby. It's like her project that she came up with. She's really directing traffic and like saying exactly how things need to go and what we need to do and everything. She's absolutely focused at this point. Like very, very determined, which I thought was awesome. Almost to the point of being pushy, in fact. She says how she got the hair off Millicent, that it was left on her robes after Millicent had her in a headlock. And Ron says to Harry, subtly, quietly, have you ever heard of a plan where so many things could go wrong? Which, quite frankly, I'm not sure if I have, because a lot of things could have gone wrong. Oh, and Hermione says about how they're going to need to steal Crabbe and Goyle's shoes as well. Genius! I didn't even fit. That's such a good point. Well done, Hermione. That is certainly not in the movie. That they had to steal their shoes. I'm pretty sure it isn't. But yeah, Hermione says you're gonna need to take their shoes as well because they're gonna be different sizes. The potion's actually causing thick black smoke to come out of the cauldron, which is not the case in the movie either. Not that it was a problem in the movie, but it's notably how much black smoke is coming out of this thing. Oh yes, and when Hermione puts the hair into the drink, Ron has the line essence of Millicent Bilstrode. I bet it tastes disgusting or something like that. He says, which is interesting because in the movie he says essence of Crabbe, which is obviously the one which he's going to be drinking. In the book, the potions are different colours. I think Hermione's is yellow. I think Ron's is brown and Harry's is green. Nice little detail there. About it changes colour once you put the hair into it. And they split up into stalls, which is very, very intelligent. So in the movie, they're all just stood in the middle of the bathroom, which would have probably been fine as well. But they actually say how they're going to be growing in such size, they better get out of the blooming cubicle. That would have been embarrassing, wouldn't it? All these months of waiting for the potion to get finished and they all get stuck inside the cubicle. That would have been absolutely hilarious, though, quite frankly. Harry drinks his down and says that it tastes of overcooked cabbage. Quite frankly, I think that doesn't sound bad. It doesn't sound good, But considering what it is, all the horrible ingredients are in it, and also their reaction in the movie being so much bigger, cooked cabbage, tasting cooked cabbage does not seem that bad. I feel like he's gotten off fairly lightly there. So we have a couple of differences when it comes to how the polyjuice potion works in the book. For one, as soon as it affects Harry, he notices that his vision's going all blurry, and he thinks, oh, well, of course Goyle doesn't need glasses. Whereas he keeps the glasses on until, like, you know, meeting up with Draco later on in the book. We have that wonderful line, which I think that some of you guys have told me is ad-lib, or the reply is ad-lib, where he like says, "Why are you wearing glasses?" And Goyle like says, "Oh, reading." And I think that you guys have told me that the actor actually came up with a line, I don't know if you could read. Bit mean, but yeah, it's quite funny. So yeah, I believe that you guys have told me that's ad-lib. I apologise if I've got that wrong. But yes, it's the first thing that Harry notices is the fact that he needs to take the glasses off. Now, in the movie, it is very clear that the voices have not been changed. In fact, they have to like put on voices. Whereas in the book, it absolutely does change their voices. They still have to make sure that they're talking the right, saying the right words and like talking the right tone and everything. But it has actually changed their voices over. Now this is why I went like this in the intro, guys. So this plan was to infiltrate the Slytherins' common room using this polyjuice potion. Now they have had this plan for months. You're telling me at no point any of them, including Hermione, who is very clever, thought, you know what, better find out where the common room is first. I mean, yeah, Jesus, I was like, and there's a 16-minute time limit specified in this, which is very interesting. I don't think it's ever any time limit given in the movie. I don't think. So the fact that they don't know where it is, and they're like 15 minutes in, and they're starting to panic about the fact they can't find this blooming common room. Very odd moment where they like go up to a girl, like says, can you show us the way to the common room? I'm afraid we're lost. And she turns out to be a Ravenclaw. Now, maybe she's not in uniform. Maybe that's what the gig is, because it's Christmas, obviously. Maybe they're all in their own outfits. Maybe that's why they assume that maybe she was a Slytherin. But if she's in Ravenclaw gear, what the heck are they asking her for? That's what I presume is the case. The fact that she's not in uniform. But she's coming up from the dungeons, and I think that everyone knows that's... Well, they say that the Slytherins always come from that direction to get into the Great Hall, and so it's they're pretty sure that it is in their direction. I mean, no, I don't think any Slytherin's going to tell Harry, Ron, or Hermione where their common room is, because it does seem to be almost hidden. In fact, there's no painting there, I don't think. Maybe all the common rooms are hidden. Maybe that's the point. Although the one in Azkaban with the fat lady, she's hardly keeping it secret, is she? But anyway, enough waffle. The fact that they didn't find out where this common room is first is just like, what are you doing? So Draco, we had the whole scene with Percy and everything, which is pretty accurate in the movie. And like Draco comes along and gets them and like leads them off to the common room. Doesn't say anything about a painting being there, like I say. So I'm guessing I think it's just a wall, in fact. And so it is obviously pretty secretive. And you know what? The common rooms move. I'm sorry, guys. I've just worked it out. You've probably already put in your comments and everything. The common rooms move just like everywhere else. So where it currently is, they would have known. Again, they could have followed Crabbe or anyone before. Anyway, I'm overthinking this at this point. And the password is pure blood, guys. Now, that makes me wonder, who the heck is deciding on these passwords? Snape? Maybe? I mean, that wouldn't make much sense, would it? Dumbledore, I don't think would do that either, because that's just, bad connotations, really, saying the Slytherins wanted the pure blood ones. Not a very kosher password for the Slytherin dorm, common room, I should say. And no scary Christmas cards. I'm pointing this out in my movie reaction, guys. The fact that when they're all sat on the sofas in Slytherin's common room, which is a cool looking common room. there's a desk in the background with some like dark green, mean Christmas cards on, which makes me happy. Yeah, now Draco spills the beans here, guys. He gives loads of information that we don't get in the movie. It says how Arthur's been fined 50 galleons for the car scenario. Lucius is calling him to resign. This is all in the paper, I should say. Lucius is calling for him to resign and scrap the Muggle Protection Act. It even talks about how Mrs. Weasley was approached and she told the reporters to clear off or she'll get the family ghoul on them. Now, for some reason, my headcanon was the ghoul just lives there much like Peeves, where he wasn't invited, but it's just his home. And they've just they've just come to accept it. But no, it sounds like it's a pet. The family ghoul, that sounds like it's a pet. And apparently it can do damage as well if it's because all the reporters would be at least magic users. I guess there could be squib reporters, but there wouldn't be any muggle reporters, is what I'm saying. And so the ghoul being used as an intimidation device. I wonder if we'll hear anything more about that in the future. I want the ghoul to have a name as well. Charlie. Call him Charlie. Oh no, I can't call it Charlie because there's a Weasley called Charlie. Is that? Yes, there is, right? Okay, my brain is giving up. Okay, move on, Veggie. My goodness sake. Oh yeah, it says how Draco's talking about Arthur, and he says that if he loves Muggles so much, he should snap his wand in half and join them. Which is a very childish thing to say, but it's interesting that would be. It's very interesting. It really puts up the whole tier system, you know? It really does. The fact that Muggles are beneath everyone. And even Arthur, to an extent, wouldn't snap his wand to go and join them because he is a wizard and he's not going to give that up. I thought that was an interesting line. So much interesting line coming from here. Draco then starts talking about Colin and everything, and it says a cruel but accurate impression of Colin. And I say, "Oh, can I lick your shoes, please, Potter?" and stuff like that. It's horrible. But even Harry says, no, he doesn't say it, but he's thinking that is an accurate impression. Poor Colin. Harry doesn't respond to what Draco says about Dumbledore, whereas in the movie he's about to freaking slap him. In fact, Ron is losing his cool as well. But yeah, in the movie, Harry says you're wrong, and it says Draco says, "Oh, who do you think's worse for this school?" And Harry very intelligently says Harry. But yeah, that's not in the book. I thought that was good. I thought that was a good line. It has Harry like losing his cool as well, which is definitely, you know, something that book Harry does a lot. And yet Draco like says, I wish I knew who it was because I'd help them. Pretty dark there. Yeah, I think that it's when Draco's talking about Ron's family and everything, and Harry is able to restrain Ron from, like, you know, retaliating, and it says that it would have been a bit of a giveaway if Crabbe punched Malfoy. Would have been funny though. I mean, we've already had one fight anyway between Arthur and Lucius. Still love that. I still love the fact how different that is in the book. And Draco brings up Azkaban. That's gotta be the first mention of Azkaban. I'm pretty sure the first mention of it in the movie is when Fudge is taking Hagrid off to it. So yeah, Draco actually brings up Azkaban here. Oh yeah, like Draco's like freaking spilling all the beans, saying about how they have like a secret room under their drawing room in the residence where they can hide stuff whenever the Ministry comes around snooping and everything. And Ron like says, I'm going to go and tell my dad about this, or write to my dad about it, or like write to his dad saying check the room under the drawing room or something like that. So. Presumably not explaining how he knows this information, but yeah, I thought that was awesome. That Ron's kind of getting his own back, and seriously as well, that could have very bad repercussions for the Malfoys, of course. They don't run into Crabbe and Goyle And this, I just missed it in the audiobook, but they don't run it, in the movie where they basically run into Crabbe and Goyle, who's like, what the heck's going on? I liked that scene in the movie. I thought it was funny, especially with Crabbe with like the red hair and everything. I thought that was a nice touch, but yeah, that does not happen in the book. And yeah, they get back to Hermione, who is now half cat. What are they called on Skyrim, on Elder Scrolls games? The cat people, Khajiits. That's it, isn't it? It's actually a black cat with yellow eyes in the book, rather than the, I guess, like tabby sort of cat that it is in the movie. And yeah, get this strange line where I think might be Harry that says it, or at least thinks it. How Madame Pomfrey never asks too many questions. Really? Because she seems to air her opinions about Quidditch pretty freaking loudly. But she's not going to question how Hermione's turned half into a cat. Thanks, Pomfrey. That's super useful, but I'm amazed that she wouldn't. And presumably not even mention it to like Snape or anyone who would know how this would have happened. So good on Pomfrey for, I guess it's patient what's the term? Confidentiality. There we go. But still, it's at a school, and one of the students is half cat now. Seriously, good on Pomfrey for keeping that quiet. And there's no line, like, I can't remember what it is when I think that Hermione says, "Look at my face," and Ron says, "Look at your tail." Looks a little bit too interested in her tail, if you ask me. And I should say, Myrtle's really laying it on thick. Like, in fact, she's like laughing at the fact that Hermione has a tail and everything, and so she's having a great time. She's laughing in the movie as well, but in the book, she's having a whale of the time. The fact that she isn't the target for, of laughter for once. Anyway, that's chapter 12. Excellent chapter. Let's move over to the next one. Chapter 13, A Very Secret Diary. A Very Secret Diary. Hermione was in the hospital for several weeks recovering from the potion as Ron and Harry brought her homework to her. On a visit, they discover she sleeps with a get well card from Lockhart under her pillow. Before they could question her too much, Madame Pomfrey has them leave. They overhear Myrtle crying in a bathroom, and upon investigation they find out it's because someone threw a book at her. Picking up the book, they realise it's a blank 50-year-old diary belonging to T.M. Riddle. Ron recognises the name from a plaque he had been cleaning for an award to services to the school during his detention. Come February, Hermione was released from the hospital wing, and the trio discussed both the diary and what Riddle had done to get the award. While searching for more information, they learn that the Mandrakes are getting closer to being done. The diary and the chamber opening the first time are from around the same period, and Lockhart is planning a morale boost for the students. This is the Death Day chapter. This is the thing, like last time, where everyone was like saying, "I wish Death Day was in it." This I wish was in it as well. On Valentine's Day, they find out the morale boost is Cupid-looking dwarfs giving out Valentine's poems. A dwarf tackles an unwilling Harry and gives him one, embarrassing both him and the sender Ginny. Malfoy mocks him whilst he picks up his books, causing a short-lived duel between the two. As he gets to class, he realizes that the ink spilled all over his books, but the diary remained clean. Later on, he writes in the book to see the ink disappear and write back a message from Tom Riddle. Riddle shows him that he was the one who stopped the creature and reveals the one who opened the chamber, Hagrid. So, definitely some changes here, and we'll be getting to the Valentine's thing, guys, but I can just perfectly envisage it in the movie. I would have loved it. Again, though, it requires Harry being humiliated, and at this point in the movies, you just don't have Harry being humiliated. Definitely not this much, anyway. But yes, let's go through my notes. So, Hermione is is still in the hospital wing for weeks with the cat issue. People are like speculating that maybe she's been the latest victim of the creature of the chamber, but obviously Ron and Harry know differently. They're actually visiting her daily, which is very, very nice. Yes, she has a get well card from Lockhart, which is amazing. Mentions again that it's Witch Weekly's Most Charming Smile Award winner. Ron refers to him as Smarmy, which is great, because hearing the term Smarmy, it's quite rare. I think it's kind of its time. I'm not sure if people really say the term Smarmy anymore. I think it's a great term. And yeah, as they're leaving, they overhear Filch going pretty ballistic and like, you know, saying like he's gonna have to go to Dumbledore about this and everything. And he goes up, and it's because of the waters there. That's a nice nice explanation of how Harry and Ron found the water, because obviously in the movie they just walk around the corner and the place is flooded again. But it's nice that they overheard Filch having another rant. Oh yeah, so I think it's actually I thought it was Ron who said this, but I got down here that Harry is the one who says to Myrtle that it can't hurt you if a book is thrown at you. And this is in the movie as well. In fact, I think in the movie it's Ron, in fact, because Myrtle starts like, you know, ghost punching him, as I remember. And it is disrespectful, guys. Even in like it instantly reminds me of a show called Red Dwarf, which I must have mentioned before, where there's like one hologram on the ship at all times, and the hologram is always of someone who's passed away, and it's seen as this big no-no for anyone to walk through them. Even if you're in a rush, you should show the hologram respect and not walk straight through them. And so for a ghost, it's very disrespectful as well. Let alone what they're going to see whilst they're going through you as well. Well, they probably wouldn't see it because it'd be too dark. Ignore it. So as soon as Harry sees the book, he goes to pick it up, and Ron's like, whoa, 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 there are a lot of books that you really need to be careful about. Obviously, Ron would know this because of Arthur working in a ministry. He like says that there's ones that burn your eyes out, ones that make you speak limericks for the rest of your life, and a woman in Bath who found a book that you can never stop reading. That really reminds me of a video game called SCP Containment Breach, guys. Now, SCPs are like little kind of like short story, ghost story kind of things online. Creepypastas, I guess you'd say they are. And it's always regarding odd creatures or odd objects. And I swear that in SCP Containment Breach, which is the video game, one of the video games of it, there is a part where you come across a book, and once you look at it, you can't look away from it, and it really reminded me of that. In fact, that could be where whoever wrote the SCP got the idea from, quite frankly, from Harry Potter. It probably is, actually. Ron knows about Tom Riddle because of him polishing the shield in detention. That's a little throwaway line in the movie, but in the book it's definitely made a lot bigger deal of, oh, why did he get this award? It's something that they're trying to like actively work out why that is the case, whereas in the movie it's just very, very throwaway line. So yeah, Hermione is like fascinated by the object, and she's trying to work out like if there's invisible ink, or like she's like using like an eraser on it. I don't know if it's like a magical one. But you know, obviously nothing happens. It's very interesting that Harry. It says that Harry feels like he knows Tom Riddle's name from his childhood. Very interesting. Obviously, that's probably to do with what happened with Voldemort and Horcruxes and all that sort of thing. But he feels like a connection to Tom Riddle just having heard his name. Well, that was very interesting. What's the term? Pre-thingy. You know what I mean. Planting a seed, basically, in the story. Ron, at this point, is just extremely pessimistic. He's just constantly saying, that's not going to work. What are you talking about? We should just forget it. He's like really, really, like, he's very pessimistic at this point. He's just like, he's having none of what Ron and what Harry and Hermione are talking about. Yes, we find out that Riddle was a head boy. Don't know if that's ever mentioned in the movie. I think it is, actually. You definitely see that he's got the prefect badge in the dream sequence, you know, bit. Oh yeah, actually that's true. Yeah, talking about the head boy and everything. Like Ron like goes on this little rant, like saying he's just like Percy, perfect head boy, probably top of his class. And Hermione like, oh, you say that like it's a bad thing, and it actually says that she looks hurt by the fact that Ron had said that. It's the fact that Ron really sees like, you know, success as being a bad thing because he doesn't have it to the level of his brothers. I mean, that's absolutely adorable. And the fact that Hermione actually, like, is visibly hurt by those remarks is great. Pumphrey is mentioning to... Is it Filch? I think it's Filch. It is Filch. That the mandrakes are becoming more moody and secretive, so they're leaving their childhood. So it's obviously, you know, a suggestion towards, you know, adolescence and everything, which is great. Obviously, Ron, Hermione, and Harry are going to be doing the same soon. And it says that once the acne has gone, then they can actually start dicing them up and making this lovely potion for Mrs. Norris and to a lesser extent Colin and Justin. No, Justin, main thing. Ignore me. Talking about Hufflepuff, Ernie still thinks that Harry is the A. He is not letting it go. I'm liking the fact that he is still, you know, he's scared of Harry, but he's still... I really am giving him too much credit, but I respect him for doing this. And yeah, Peeves is still making fun of Harry as well, you know, as is his wont. And then we just, I can't remember who Lockhart's talking to. I feel like it's McGonagall, and he's like saying, I know something that will increase the morale around here. And he like taps his nose and everything. And I actually wrote down straight away, Valentine's Day ? Because it had just mentioned that it was February. And yes, it's Valentine's Day. They go in and it's like this really gaudy, like pink hearts everywhere and everything. And there's like a big table where Gilderoy is at, and all the other teachers are just sitting there completely stony faced, like probably quite humiliated by having to be a part of this farce. Presumably he got it past Dumbledore though. Dumbledore would have to at least be asked about it. And yes, we had the 12 dwarfs delivering cards and poems and everything. I had to rattle my brain thinking if we've heard about dwarfs before in Harry Potter, and we really haven't. I don't think we've heard about them since either. Obviously, I'm a little bit confused at the moment because I'm covering The Hobbit, which is obviously very dwarf heavy. Thoroughly enjoying that, and I know all the dwarfs off by heart now, guys. Of course, had to make sure that I learn them all before the second movie. So yes, they're like going around like delivering cards, like interrupting classes and everything. Lockhart like says that maybe you could ask for a love potion from Snape, and Flitwick has an enchanting enchantment that he used a lot, and Flitwick's like, oh man, like burying his head in his hands. And Snape, it says Snape is looking like if the first person who asks him for one will be force fed poison, which to be fair is probably accurate with Snape. So yes, Harry gets a song sung to him by one of the dwarfs in front of loads of people. Again, completely This book, guys, may as well be called The Humiliation of Harry Potter. Because it really is. There's so many moments where he's just getting completely and utterly humiliated by Lockhart, by cherub-dressed dwarfs, Colin, Draco. Not so much Dobby, but yeah, a lot of embarrassment for Harry in this book. It really is, and he's trying to get away from the dwarf before he starts singing and everything. And the dwarf is so heavy-handed, he freaking rips his bag, causing his books to fall out and the ink to fall as well. Yeah, he basically rugby tackles Harry, which is brilliant. Yeah, so at the end of the poem, which is incredibly sweet, I guess. It's nice enough. Presumably from Ginny, because Ginny looks embarrassed as well. It says Harry would give all the money in Gringotts to evaporate on the spot. Percy comes along again. Lots of Percy in this episode, guys. Clears the crowd away. Draco's freaking got the diary that Harry's dropped. And it says very interesting that Ginny is staring at the diary and Harry terrified. Of course, she would have tried to get rid of it at this point, wouldn't she? I will remember by the end of this book, obviously, but yeah, she would at this point know the severity of the diary. Oh man, we will see. More Expelliarmuses going on. Does it on the book, and just the book comes out of the hand, which is obviously how we see Expelliarmus being used a lot in the later movies. And yeah, like Draco like mocks Ginny as she's like, you know, going away, like saying how Harry didn't like the poem and everything. And Ron goes to retaliate by getting his wand out, but obviously Harry stops him because Ron's wand is not that great. In fact, it starts, I think it says it has like purple bubbles coming out the end of it when he does that. And yeah, one of his ink bottles is smashed and like there's ink everywhere, but not over Tom Riddle's diary. So that's I like that, because in a movie it's fine. In a movie it's fine because they need to get the movie going and everything. But it's just basically Harry sat there, and then he basically tries dropping ink onto it, and he obviously comes up trumps. Whereas this is a lot more down to luck. And yes, Fred and George are of course mocking Harry over the over Ginny's poem, which is obviously, you know, perfect. The diary seems a lot more talkative. When like Harry starts like writing the messages and everything, I think the diary does most of the talking. Because on the movie, it seems like it's a little bit reserved by what it's giving away. But it actually says that as he's communicating with it, it actually picks up pace, as if the book is desperately trying to give Harry this information as fast as possible. So yeah, it's definitely a lot more helpful than it was in the book. It actually offers to take Harry into his memory. Whereas in the movie, it's just like, I can show you, and then it's like, da da da, that music. Good impression. And yeah, Harry's like, Harry actually says, okay, back, and then he's taken into it, so it is his choice. We hear about Professor Dippet for tonight. Now, Professor Dippet was mentioned. He's actually called Master Dippet. Dumbledore calls him Master Dippet in the movie, but I think we do see him, but it's not 100% confirmed if it is him. But in the book, Harry appears in Dumbledore's office, but it's Dippet's office, which is a lot more, a lot less like technology and things around. So very interesting hearing about the previous headmaster of Hogwarts. That was actually really nice to actually see him, because I presume the paintings that are in Dumbledore's office, one of them has got to be Dippet. A-dooby-dooby-doo. So yeah, Riddle is so it's not the evening that Myrtle died. I don't think. I think that's happened a couple of days before, and Riddle's actually visiting Dippet to see if he can stay at Hogwarts during the summer, because he doesn't want to go back to the orphanage. Wasn't expecting this early in the series, guys. I was not expecting this much information about Riddle. We all know who that turned out to be. About the fact that he's at a Muggle orphanage, the fact that his father was a Muggle. We find out that Marvello was his grandfather's name, Tom is his father's name, and obviously, and his mother was a witch who died shortly after his birth. Fascinating hearing all this information. And it does seem odd to me that even as a joke, Lockhart would say about love potions. Because love potions are dangerous things, guys. It's like, you know, it's, if you have a child, you guys have filled me in on this, so I presume it's in the book at some point, that if you have a child with someone that you've used a love potion on, then that child will never be able to experience love. Obviously what happened with Voldemort's. Yeah. It just seems odd that love potions are seen as like almost like a light-hearted thing. Anyway. Maybe they're not. I feel like I'm getting the wrong end of the stick there. A-dooby-dooby-doo. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the first time we hear about the orphanage is when we see the orphanage. I think it is in Half-Blood Prince. It has to be, because we see the cave and so on. So yeah, Half-Blood Prince is the first time we hear about the orphanage at all. Finding out about it in Chamber of Secrets, not something I expected in the slightest. Now, obviously, I'm sure there's another reason why Tom wants to stay at the school over the summer. But obviously, with oh, actually, that's a good point. He asked if he can stay there over the summer, and Dippet is like, you can't stay over the summer, especially with like this creature running amok and everything. Or we need to find out what happened to Moaning Myrtle. So maybe that's why he goes and basically turns in Hagrid. I was a little bit confused when listening to this, because I actually wrote down that maybe Riddle has changed his memory, much like Slughorn did, to make him look really concerned about, make him look like he's more concerned and worried about turning Hagrid in, morality-wise. But maybe he's turning Hagrid in just so he can stay at Hogwarts over the summer, to give the impression that the creature is gone. In Aragog. Let me know your thoughts on that. Yeah, maybe that's why he's conflicted and thinking about what he's going to do, because it does say that Tom looks in deep thought whilst Harry's like watching him going about. Very interesting. So yeah, we don't see Myrtle getting carried away. We do have the conversation with Dumbledore, and we do get the question, is there anything that you want to tell me, to Riddle as well. And the only other note I've already got is that the scene with Hagrid is very different, guys. Basically, Riddle's about to blow the spider away, and the spider basically knocks him over on his way running out. And when he goes to get up, Hagrid freaking grabs him. And so that's very different. It's very, very different, and that's how the dream ends. Obviously, it's very, very Hagrid's a lot more defeated in the movie version, but which is a fine change. I don't mind that at all. But yeah, it's definitely a little bit more dramatic in physical in the book version. But that's my notes for that chapter. So all in all chapters were awesome. Let's go over to the Harry Potter book club and see if you guys agree. Okay, so this is the Harry Potter book club, guys. This is where you can be a part of these videos and give me your thoughts, your opinions, and your questions regarding the chapters that we're covering. This one has now been complete, that's why it says closed, but obviously before each book review, we do another one. And so if you want to check out the Patreon and be a part of the fun, you can, guys. I thoroughly enjoy this part of this part of the process, I must admit. Gonna apologise in advance because of my terrible reading of names, and I would also point out that our replies, I don't read the replies. And I got a very good comment. Oh man, I can't remember who it was, but someone made a very good point saying, I'm really glad that you don't read the replies, because it then allows you guys to have a conversation between yourself without spoilers. So that's definitely the best way that we'll do it. There are little rules regarding your comments, guys, about the length and so on, and keeping on topic, not mentioning stuff that happens in the future, and so on, but it's all very casual, so don't worry about following them too much. So we're kicking off first with Nyx. So, Nyx, you've been waiting 4 weeks for me to do this. I'm so sorry. It feels strange that Book 2 seems to be one of the least liked movies, and yet I thought they did a pretty good job overall of covering the story. All 3 of these chapters read today were in the movies. Well, yeah, the chapters were, little scenes were, but then again, the Valentine's scene is so short, it's really not an issue. It's basically... It is very short. Yeah, I think all the movies are great. I think that the book definitely has more things fleshed out, but obviously it would do because it doesn't have a time restraint or anything like that. But yeah, I think it did a good job as well. Michelle, the Dueling Club. What giddy chaos! I love this chapter. I love it even when Snape humiliates Lockhart. How could he not? How could he not? He can easily see through his BS, absolutely, and it's glorious, it sure is. The scene where Harry learns Expelliarmus, and he learns it from Snape. Yeah, that's absolutely true. It is great, and it's just another opportunity for Lockhart to basically humiliate himself as well as other people, including Hermione getting in a headlock. I was not expecting that. That's an image which I did not expect to be saying. Bianca. I really appreciate Fred and George's humour in this chapter. The whole make way for the era slithering, seriously evil wizard coming through shows how hilarious is this situation. Let's go and drink a cup of tea with the fang servant. I know, that is a fantastic line. And again, it's Harry appreciates it. I really like that, because in the movie he's just like, what does he say? I think he may even say, what if they're right, or something like that. He's oh, no. I think Ron says they're only... They're trying to find the funny side, I think that Ron says, or something like that. And Harry says, well, they're the only ones. Whereas I really like the fact that Harry is taking solace in Fred and George, who are good people. Guys, this is the thing. They're obviously, you know, pranksters and everything, but they can tell. It is my interpretation that Fred and George know that Harry is feeling really down in the dumps in it, and they're actually doing it, cheering him up. Now, when it comes to scaring Ginny with the fur and the boils and everything, not so sure about that. But with Harry, I'm sure they're actually genuinely trying to help him out in a way, if you know what I mean. Daniel Lee. Excited to hear your thoughts about the yellow, yellow. Yeah, literally, some of them are yellow in this one. They're terrified. Yellow-bellied. Your fellow Hufflepuff, Ernie Macmillan. This may not have been the most flattering introduction for him, but I think he's a really underrated character, and I can't wait for you to get to know him more going forward. Oh, I'm absolutely up for that. I mean, I know I'm biased, but I thought he was great, and I think they had... I'm such a prick, I really am. I know that I'm biased, guys, and I know that most of you are thinking, he hasn't got a point, Veggie. I swear, I can see his logic, and he's doing it out of fear. He's not doing it out of spite. This isn't Ron and Hermione getting back at Draco by saying that it's him, you know? This is Ernie being scared of Harry, but standing his ground. I am a disgrace. I also love how Hagrid defends Harry so much because he himself was accused of being the heir of slithering, and he doesn't want Harry to experience what he went through. I've never made that connection, Daniel. That is such a good point. Just a side note, but who comes up with the password for slithering common room? Since the entrance is just a wall and no painting like Gryffindor. Very insensitive password for the time, particularly time. 2, lol. Laugh your ankles off. We brought that up. I'm delighted. Well done, Daniel. I gotta say, guys, I don't read these beforehand. I want my reactions to these comments to be legit and, you know, first-hand opinion. So it's more like a conversation, you know. If I prepare an answer for your thoughts, that's unfair. But we think alike, Daniel. That's awesome. The fact that we both brought up the fact that the password is not kosher. Dumbledore would not pass it. Snape, I don't think, would either, quite frankly. Jacqueline. Hermione's statement that most wizards don't have an ounce of logic in them is proven in these chapters. The fact that people seriously thought Harry was the heir of Slytherin when his best friend and his mother Muggleborns is astonishing to me. It's very true. You gotta remember that these are kids doing it, so that adds to the lack of logic as well. But you're right, it's they're not. It's much like how they go to Neville and like say, Neville, you don't have anything to worry about, dude. You're a pureblood. But they're not considering the fact that Harry, you know, is surrounded by. I can't say he's surrounded by Muggles because he hates a lot of them. with good reason. Also, I love how Harry has no idea that he's speaking Parseltongue. And by extension, we don't know that he's speaking Parseltongue. I get why they had to show it in the movie, but I definitely prefer how it is in the books. I know, Jack, and this is what I was saying. I can absolutely see why they did it like they did in the movie. Keep things going, and also to instantly show that something odd is going on. But if Harry had said "stop it" to the snake in English, and all the students are like, "What are you playing at?" I think Justin says. That would have been creepy. Maybe a bit too creepy. Oh no. Chamber of Secrets is a creepy movie. What am I talking about? We yet to get to the spider scene. Very good point, Jacqueline. Catty. Expelliarmus is usually used to disarm, but if you put more power, it will shove the opponent. I was thinking about this. Is it Colin? There's some short blonde kid. I'm not sure if it is Colin, but someone gets Expelliarmus in the room of requirement in Order of the Phoenix, and they go flying as well. They nearly go into the fire, as I remember. Could have been dark. We all know Snape knew how much power to put into it, so it obviously wanted to either embarrass Lockhart or was so disgusted by him he wanted him far away. Very true, absolutely. Picturing Snape's reaction to the potential Valentine's potion request, I know. Yeah, that was the first person I was thinking. I was thinking McGonagall. I was thinking Snape, thinking how furious. Because McGonagall wouldn't be happy either. How furious they would be. Or maybe she would do, because she does the dance, doesn't she? She teaches for the school dance. Flitwick ain't happy either, though. Thank you very much for your comment. It's a dance thing. There's so many great things about these chapters that didn't make it into the movie. The first is something that has bothered me in several movies. The rules of Polyjuice Potion. They are very clearly explained in this chapter and then broken numerous times in the movies. Harry, Ron and Hermione keep their own voices, every time they use Polyjuice. But Barty Crouch sounds like Moody for a year. I guess you could say that Barty might be very good at impressions, because he's very used to using it. But you're right, the rules do get shifted around a lot, don't they? But that's a very good point about very interesting point about Barty. I'm looking forward to meeting in the books. And Moody. Moody, actually, I'm really looking forward to meeting in the books. Essentially the same character, you know what I mean. I love the Julie Club scene. I wish the book version had been in the movie. Seeing what all the different spells actually do instead of every spell just knocking people over. Like the Rictus Empire. He does say that in the movie, but it does exactly what a very strong Expelliarmus would have done. I always get to do the wand. I haven't got a wand yet. I keep on planning on doing this blooming. I'm sorry that I haven't done the PO box thing yet, guys. It's been I'm sorry. I really wanted to get it done. Maybe we can do it done for Christmas. I wanted to get it done for my birthday, which is in October. It's a bit late now, but maybe I can. I will try and put aside time next week to set up the PO box, because I'd love to see because I've had a lot of people saying that they want to send me stuff and everything, guys, but I'm sorry that it's taking me so long. Everything takes me so blooming long at the moment, doesn't it? I apologise. A doobie doo. Anyway, back to your comment. I apologise for a little sidetrack. Seeing all the doobie. Lockhart's Valentine's surprise. I would have loved to have heard Harry's special song. I know. Haha. And finally, Riddle's memory. Very different from what goes on in the movie and explains a bit more of his backstory. It really does. The stuff about the orphanage I was not expecting so early. Thank you so much for your comment. Sarah, Lockhart is amazing in these chapters. He's amazing in every chapter. Lockhart is the shining light of this book. He is absolutely brilliant. I actually laughed out loud multiple times during the dueling club. Harry's drop my wand was hilarious, and when Lockhart said, "Just do what I did." It's like, what, you drop your wand? The Valentine's shenanigans, good use of that word there, were great too. The mandrakes wearing tiny clothes makes me feel really bad about the fact that they're going to be slaughtered at the end of the book. I know, it's dark, isn't it? Even if it is for a good cause, maybe he murdered Myrtle. Oh well, there you go. Yeah. In fact, Ron says something about. Did I get rid of that note? Did I go through all my notes properly just now? I swear that I wrote down a note about how Ron at one point says that maybe he killed Myrtle and that would be good for everyone. Obviously, he's joking there. Ron isn't that harsh. Well, yeah, it's a pretty good guess by Ron, wasn't it? Benjamin. I'd like the dueling club. There you learn that different offensive spells have different effects. In a movie, every spell does the same. Send an enemy flying like Expelliarmus. Yeah, and Rectus Empire. Well, I love that. It's a cool name. Anyway. Which is meant to be a spell to disarm your opponent. Very true. How? People claim that Professor Snape is a horrible person because his idea of punishment is temporarily banning a student from Quidditch. Now this is going back to the previous episode, isn't it? Let's put that in perspective. Professor McGonagall punished four first-year students by sending them to the Forbidden Forest at night. That's very true. That was their detention, wasn't it? Well, she knew there was something in the forest killing unicorns. We were told that killing a unicorn is 1, very difficult, 2, unspeakably vile. So she must have known that whatever the thing was is extremely dangerous, and she still thought it was an appropriate punishment to send for 4-year students. Snape is a strict teacher, no doubt about it. Something perhaps unreasonably strict. But he's a cinnamon roll in comparison to McGonagall. Unlike her, Snape would never willingly endanger the lives of students. Well, that goes back to what I was saying in this one about how the first thing that he did was saying, if you got splashed, come to me straight away. Which I very cynically thought wouldn't be the first thing that would come out of his mouth. But that's me obviously wrong because he did. I think that maybe I worded what I said last episode a little bit badly about Snape's punishment, guys. I'm not... When I said that Snape was trying to get Harry kicked off the Quidditch game, I wasn't saying how dare Snape do that. I was saying it's odd that would even be a punishment. It's like saying... I can't think of a good example, but it's like... It makes no logical sense, you know, in my opinion. This is all going over stuff from previous chapters, Hoa. So thank you so much for your further explanation on this. And yeah, you make a good point about the detention. I see that this has 17 replies, so I'm sure there's a good, healthy conversation going on in there. I will say this though, guys, everyone is always very respectful in the comments, and so it's really nice to see. Dara. Here comes the chapter, Harry Potter learned Expelliarmus, giggles. Keep that chapter in mind whilst continuing in the other books, and never forget who taught that one to Harry. Can't wait. That's what the other comment was saying, wasn't it? And do not apologise. I'd rather wait than have you lose the fun with this. Thank you, Dara. I appreciate that. The fact that you've had to wait 4 weeks for me to reply to it is not good enough. I know. Yeah. I appreciate it. It's very kind of you to say thank you so much. And you're right. Enthusiasm in YouTube in general is actually very important, guys. Should I even mention this? I've done the Danganronpa games on the channel, guys. Now, a lot of them won't be public at the moment because when I got hacked, a lot of my streams and videos got made private. I will probably release them eventually. And I love the Danganronpa games, guys. They're great. They're very dark, very silly. Very violent is all I got to say. But I think they're great though. I really do. I think they're really very, very good. And after I finished the games, no, it was before I did V3. V3 was the latest game. Before I did the final game, I checked out the animated... It's like an animated sequel. It's like a couple of storylines. And at first I was loving it. It's 10 episodes. No, it's more than that. I mean, it's like 20 in fact. There's a lot of episodes as I remember. And at first I was really enjoying it, and then after a while I really started to not like the way it was going. And this is not good. This is, if you ever get into YouTube or anything like this of the sorts, guys, do not do what I did. I pushed on with it, and it was actually making me unwell. I was actually getting quite upset by it. So yeah, I highly recommend if you're okay with violence and there's some risque humor in it, and it is dark. It's obviously very, very dark. I do recommend the Danganronpa games, but not Danganronpa 3. There's an animation called Danganronpa 3, and then there's a game called Danganronpa V3. I highly recommend Danganronpa V3. I think it's actually my favourite, but not Danganronpa the anime. So that's what I'm basically saying about losing the fun of doing it. That was possibly the perfect example of me forcing myself through something, and I really wasn't enjoying it, and it actually was having bad effects on my health, quite frankly. So, so happy when I got that series out of the way. Anyway, thank you very much, Dara. Very, very, very kind of your message. I really do appreciate it, but this is not... Oh, no, this is not acceptable. No, not your message. The fact that it's been 4 weeks. I can't be leaving it 4 weeks. Thank you, though. Gary, not Jerry. Sorry. The Apologies Potion plan. Say that 5 times fast. No, thank you. I don't get kicked off YouTube. It seems a little far-fetched, really. Couldn't Harry have just followed Draco under the invisibility cloak? Gary. That's really undermining Hermione's plan. I can't see a fault in your logic. Unless... No! The security wouldn't pick it. No. Gary, you just ruined the book! I can't believe it. Where is the cloak right now? He has it, doesn't he? Well, great. I may as well give up now. This whole book has been a farce. That's such a good point, Gary. If anyone's got a reply to Gary, I'd like to see... if you've got a rational reason, I'd like to hear it. Anyway, I'm reading this book in French, Voldemort. So I thought I would give a fun fact about the French translation of Harry Potter. The French word is wand. Hey, what? The French word for wand is baguette. That would be a different movie, wouldn't it? Imagine the last scene on Deathly Hallows with like the 2 baguettes flying through the air. 2? 1. Ignore me. They also... It's Harry snapping the baguette in half and throwing it down. Anyway, shut up, Veggie. Right. They also... I really enjoy this part of the video, guys. I really do. I love reading your comments. They also use the same word for chopsticks, drumsticks, and conductor's baton. So it's the shape, then. Purely the shape. That's fascinating. So it's like saying stick. Yeah, because they all come a stick. Fascinating. And stick of bread. I don't know if they use that term. When I was a kid, French loaf would be called a French stick. But it's quite funny to imagine all the witches and wizards running around with breadsticks. Okay, guys, within a week, and I'm serious, within a week of Hogwarts Legacy coming out, someone had better have made that mod. Right. That would be amazing. Thank you very much for your comments. H. Did you notice the way nearly headless Nick was moved by Ernie? You've probably already mentioned it in the video. Absolutely, he's wafted. That's the term it uses. All comments like, Dumbledore, loves Muggleborns. A decent headmaster would never let slime like that cravey in. And hope it's Granger. And you said Ginny then. Always made me find it weird how so many people like Draco. You know what? I find that in real life. Some people say some blooming terrible things, and yet people want to be associated with him anyway. But it's probably more that he's an interesting character rather than he's likable. Also, he does have power. In Slytherin, he does have power because of who his father is. Hence why he's able to get on the team by buying the brooms and everything. And that Tom Felton is a good... Oh, he's great. Draco's actor is fantastic. Anyway, of course he's a product of his upbringing, but that's more explanation than an excuse. That's very true. In the Polyjuice Potion chapter, he behaves like an edgelord, but that makes sense for his character. I called someone an edgelord in my Arcane series, guys, and a lot of people disagree with me. Some people agree with me. If you've watched Arcane but you haven't watched my reactions yet, I think that... No, it's not smart. I think that Mel's mother is an edgelord. That's just my opinion, guys. Just my opinion. If you disagree, go and check out my reactions and let me know your thoughts there. It's a bit like with Snape. Clearly a bully and not a nice person, despite him being a hero, but an interesting and well-written character. Yeah, this whole thing about why people... I guess Draco's personality is most likely going to be Slytherin. So, people in Slytherin are most probably gonna... Unless... Oh, hang on. Okay, you're talking about book readers. I'm sorry. H, I thought you meant other students. I'm sorry, H. No, you're talking about book readers. I'll say this. By the end of the movies, I really liked Draco. Particularly his stuff in Half-Blood Prince. But back at this point, yeah, that's... but the thing is, you have to remember that a lot of people just like bad guys. That's also another thing, you know, it's the Boba Fett effect. Draco is the Boba Fett of Harry Potter, is what I'm saying. It's not a bad analogy. Great comment, H. I'm sorry for misunderstanding what you were saying at first. Annette. I like that these chapters, that they explain how Hermione got the ingredients from the Polyjuice. Yes, we had that whole scene in Snape's office class. The fact that she had to steal some rarer ingredients makes Snape's remarks about stealing from his private stores more understandable in Goblet of Fire later on. Absolutely. We talked about that scene, in fact, didn't we? I also like how it shows a more reasonable way for Harry figuring out that there's something strange about the diary. I 100% agree. He just looks upon it, doesn't he? In the movie. Not that it's not that much of a problem. Showing the red ink spilling all over his things, but later there's no red ink in the diary pages, which leads Harry to try and writing to see what happens is much better. I agree. Overall, the book shows Harry as a much more initiative, intuitive. I'm sorry, intuitive and clever than in the movies. Oh, that's interesting. Overall, the books show Harry is much more intuitive and clever than in the movies do. He doesn't always need Hermione to think things out for him. Yeah, Hermione is given a lot of results. Is probably a good way of putting it. Yeah, you're right. Whenever I do this, guys, like I say, I watch the scenes from the movies, and sometimes during Hermione's scenes, This is not a criticism of the actress. I think she was brilliant as Hermione. Sometimes I'm just like, oh, why didn't they just do it like in the book, you know? And I'm getting it. I'm getting this, guys. This is something that I get in a lot of these comments. I mean, this comment here is another example. I know that I'm not alone. Like I say, I think she's great in the movies. I'm pretty sure I say many times during my reaction how much I love Hermione in them, but she just simply is, at this point, done better in the books. Which is part of the reason why we're doing this series. Sarah. Harry received... I didn't just skip someone, did I? I did not. Harry receiving a singing Valentine from Ginny is pure comic gold, in my opinion. And I would love to sing a story from Snape's point of view, with his reaction to receiving such Valentines from someone, as I just know that his inner dialogue would have been amazing. Oh man, I mean, that would have to be... I don't know who it would be. Unless, like, one of his students has a crush on him or something somehow. I don't think he's very nice to Slytherins. That would have been amazing. I wonder if Valentine's Day is going to be on Hogwarts Legacy. Because Christmas definitely will. We shall find out. Or Halloween will as well. In honor of Valentine's Day in Harry Potter, who would you most want to receive a Valentine from a suitor, and who would be the suitor you would want to have sent it? Well, this is a difficult question, Sarah. Well, no, it's not. I've always said that the very, very short time that Madame Pince was in the movies, in this movie, is the only one that she's actually in, unless she's played by someone else. I did think, oh, hello, who's that? Sarah, it's a difficult question for you. I want to know these answers. I want to see the replies, though, because I want to see if anyone else has replied. Madame Pince? At Hogwarts, or just... because that does limit it. Well, even across the series. Oh, Tonks! Not just because she's Hufflepuff, guys. I think she was badass. I really freaking loved Tonks, as you could probably tell. I'm not sure if Lupin would be too happy with that. There you go, Pince and Tonks. There you go, Pince and Tonks. That sounds like a pub. Thank you very much for your very difficult question, Sarah. Let me know your answer. I want to see these answers. I can't. We need to move on. But let me know your answers in the comments as well, guys. Okay, Jonas, one moment. Oh, balls. Okay, we're getting there. We're getting there. Oh, balls. Oh, Jonas, right. Ron being aware of how the diary could be dangerous. Ah, yes. When he tells Harry not to touch it, tells us directly more about what his dad or even the Ministry is doing on a daily basis. A small detail that makes the world a little bit more alive. I could not agree with you more, Jonas. That's awesome. So well put. Hope you are doing well, Veggie. Can't wait for your thoughts on these chapters. Well, you're not waiting any longer, Jonas. Great comment, and I 100% agree with you. Diego. No, I always get to say Diego. I have no idea. Diego. I have to say, I actually prefer how they did Harry being sucked into the book thing in the movie compared to the book. Yeah, okay. On the other hand, I don't like that they let the chocolate cakes float in the movie instead of putting them on the banister in the book. Yeah, that's true. I did mention that, but that the floating thing is a movie exclusive. I mean, even Crabbe and Goyle shouldn't be that dumb. Well, I mean, Ron literally does say, how thick can you get when it happens? Also, I love that Harry was looking around for a glass of water to put out Fawkes. I always have to be careful saying his name. It's just such a fun little detail. No, I think it's great, and I think it's a nice thing for Harry as well. The fact that Harry feels like he's in trouble and make it double, to quote another James. yeah, I think it shows a nice side of Harry, the fact that even with all that going on, and he's just been annoyed by the sort he has, the fact he instantly forgets about that and tries to help out an animal she's literally just met. Great point. Christina. For some reason, my comment got deleted. Oh, maybe it was too long or considered spoilery. If so, I'm sorry. Well, don't worry, Christina, because I didn't see it. We've got people who are able to take care of that, so don't worry about that. I just wanted to point out how great it is that in the memories scene, Harry sees his greatest enemy as a normal boy, very much like him. Absolutely. He doesn't have to look... he doesn't have to love... I'm sorry, it's my reading. He doesn't have a loving home. So that's very sympathetic, actually. That's a very good point. He doesn't have a loving home. So he is more attached to Hogwarts than any other student and is desperately trying to put things back in order so he doesn't have to leave this place. And this world he belongs to even for a few weeks during summer. See, I was speculating that he's up to something, but that is actually very true as well. He definitely feels upset about having to go back to the orphanage in the book. This connection is so well and kind of subtly prepared in the chapters before by Harry telling his classmates about how terrible the Dursleys are. Ernie, yeah, he's saying about how you'd hate them as well, and them asking him to stay even exactly. The fact that the Dursleys had been saying, "Can you stay there over the summer?" A direct connection. Well made. Think of how much Harry must have identified with Riddle he saw in that memory. I feel like the scariest thing about Voldemort and what makes him their whole conflict so powerful is not how different he is from Harry, but how similar they actually are. And this goes back to that perfect line. Great comment, Christina. Goes back to that line where Harry says that he just feels like he knows that name. Like that they were friends when they were younger or something like that. Great comment. Max. Lots of great comments on this, so I'll keep mine short and sweet. Maybe he killed Myrtle. Yes, it was Ron, yes. We're Ron Weasley for the win. Yeah, that is a brutal comment by Ron, but Ron's getting more like that, though. He will come up with these little lines where you think, wow, Ron, why don't you tell us how you really feel? He's obviously joking now. Tammy. Here are some of my favourite things about these chapters. The different effects of the spells and the chaos of the dueling club. How do you feel about there being a tickling charm? I think it's great. Also, is made much more sense that the snake backed down in the book. Yeah, because we're hearing what Harry's saying. Absolutely. I think the tickling charm is great. And this is the age where people would think, tickling charm, that's perfect. And the fact that Draco makes Harry, like, he starts dancing, doesn't he? Quick step. Oh, I would like that in the movie. But it would have taken the seriousness out of the scene, though. I don't know. I think it's great. It's definitely better that Rictus Empire isn't just a pushing over spell. The many songs we got, like the Peeves song and Harry's about Harry being Slytherin's heir, and Ginny's Valentine poem to Harry, which Fred and George keep going. Absolutely brutal, of course. I don't think they were even there, but they probably just heard about it. Percy was there, and Ginny, and Harry, and a lot of other people. The teacher's expressions at the Valentine's dinner, I know, they're just completely stony face. And the last but not least, what do you think about the little bits of background about Tom Riddle? Was not expecting it this early, Tammy, and that's not a criticism. I was like, what? Because obviously the book readers who are reading this for the first time don't know anything about Voldemort, and yet they already know that Tom Riddle... I think it's awesome. It's awesome. You know what? Doing it in this order, it's awesome. The other way round... must be... yeah, reading the books and watching the movies, you must be thinking, well, so when are we going to hear more about Tom's childhood and everything? Whereas hearing it so early, it's a treat. It's an absolute treat. I thought it was excellent, and it really the whole dream sequence is better done in the book. But yes, good. I love these book. God, I love these books. And sorry for the long post. There are just so many good and hilarious moments in these chapters. I couldn't decide on which ones to talk about. That's all right, Tammy. It's absolutely fine. This is a good length. This is a good length. And even sometimes comments do get... I don't think we've had any this time. But sometimes comments do get a little bit longer. But like I say, these rules are not... It's fine to stretch the rules. You know, as long as you're not putting chapters in here, it's okay. Yankee Veg. Fellow Veg. I think the beauty of Potter books is that the characters are neither all good nor all bad. Completely with you. The good characters each do something rotten, and the bad have moments of redemption. That's a very good point. Apart from... Oh no, you're talking about the books, so I can't say that. I was going to say Crabbe and Goyle, but we shall see about that. Thanks for the book club, Veggie. Thank you very much, Yankee. Very, very kind of you. It's true. It's true how the bad characters have redemptions, and the fact that good characters... This goes back to what I was saying about not liking the description of characters like Millicent. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with those descriptions. When I hear them, it makes me feel a little bit sad. It actually does, guys, and that is because we're hearing it from inside Harry's point of view. And then Ron saying, when Hermione won't come out after they get back, and like I'm pretty sure Ron straight up says, "I know she's ugly, but it's only temporary," or something like that. Yeah, but these are kids. These are kids. There is no kid who is just purely good out there. There just isn't, apart from Cedric. And Justin. And Ernie. And Hannah. Shut up. Right. Thank you very much for your comment. It's great. Let's have a look. We're getting there. We're getting there. Josh. I was going to say Josh Z, but you probably said Josh Z, don't you? No, Z is what I say. Z is probably what you say. Ignore me. There's been a healthy debate for years among many fans whether or not Ginny actually sent the singing Valentine to Harry. Very interesting. Some people believe that it could have been... You know what, Josh? I should probably finish the sentence. Malfoy. There we go. You know what, Josh? When I was listening to it, I was thinking... Because then Draco shows up, and I was thinking, hang on. Mad props to Draco if he set that up, because that is a great way of getting back at Harry. That's fascinating. I was thinking that, I just didn't write it down on my notes. Who assumed that Ginny was Harry's girlfriend? Then she stood up for him in Flourish and Blots, back in chapter 4, and he is trying to humiliate them both based on knowing Ginny has a crush. Fred and George also getting mentioned. Fred and George also getting mentioned as the real senders. That I didn't think of, but that is right up their alley. I would have thought they'd do Ron. You know what? It would make more sense that they Harry, because they're trying to diffuse the tension around everyone thinking that Harry is the heir. This goes beyond the Call of Duty for that, doesn't it? Oh, that is a good theory. Just playing a prank on Harry, though I think they are less likely to humiliate their little sister openly, because even they have a line and quite protective of the family. What do you think? Well, I mean, they're scaring the... you know, I was going to say they're scaring the balls off her, but that's probably incorrect. And by jumping out, covered in fur and everything, but there is a limit. Humiliation is a lot worse than just being made to jump scare. So, great comment, Josh. That is a great theory, George and Fred, and Fred and George, because I know that some of you are annoyed when I say it the wrong way around. But this Malfoy, I swear to God, I was thinking, hang on, did he do this? Awesome quite. Fear. It's so much joy reading these chapters, and again, it's the mischievous characters that really shine. Like Fred and George trying to fend off Harry, the heiress slurring with garlic. Exactly, that's amazing. I'd love to see. Or the grumpy dwarf singing Valentine's song for Harry. Again, fantastic. However, my favourite is clearly Peeves' ingenious "Oh Potter the Rotten." Don't know why I'm doing that voice. "Oh Potter the Rotten," because it's Rick Mail who's meant to play it, wasn't it? I love Rick Mail, guys. Sadly, no longer with this song. I would have paid money to experience that in the movies, particularly with Rick Mail. Oh my god, that would have been amazing. Rick Mail's a British comedy actor, guys, and I was basically obsessed with him. When I was a kid, he was basically my idol. Oh, I can't recommend these because they're so bloody rude. There's a comedy show called Bottom, which is incredibly crass, but I thoroughly enjoy it. It is not for everyone, though, I'll say this, but Rick Mail was kind of like an idol of mine for the longest time, and he was meant to be pleased. Apparently, they filmed scenes, but from what I hear, he was making the kids laugh too much. Apparently, which I can believe. No, Rick Mail. Anyway, and yes, the show is called Bottom, which I know is strange, but it's a strange show. I would have paid money to experience it in the movie. I also liked that little mentions of other teachers like Professor Sinistra. Yes, right. I only heard that on the second listening. Sinistra, that teacher is astronomy. She is helping Flitwick get Justin to the hospital wing. That's right. Thank you. Brilliant. I appreciate you saying that because I couldn't remember who it was. It shows that there are more teachers present at Hogwarts. Not only the main house teachers like Snape, McGonagall, and Sprout. Yeah, and Sprout doesn't get much of a look in the movies either. As always, who's the Raven? Oh, Flitwick, of course. Ignore me. As always, keep up the great work, Veggie. Thanks for sharing your thoughts with us. Greetings from Germany. Thank you very much, Theo. You've always got great comments. I greatly appreciate that. Oh. Frederic? I think it's Frederic, isn't it? I've never noticed before how Ron trying to be funny about Riddle's reward for services to the school spoils the end. And wouldn't you have loved to see that Valentine's Day cheese fest? Great turn, Frederick. Cheese fest in the movie. I would. The dwarfs, Gilderoy's confident face, whilst everyone around him is like, "What the hell?" If you weren't a teacher, dude, I'd be kicking your head in. Snape particularly, but I think McGonagall's face would be a picture as well. I think Dumbledore would be loving it, quite frankly. Of course, because he blushed when Madame Pomfrey complimented his earmuffs. Still remember, that's from the first chapter, I think. Or the first book. Not 100% sure what you mean by the spoiler thing. So I'm going to leave it there, Frederic. But thank you very much for your comment. And yes, the cheese fest, which is a Brit way of putting it, it was golden. Saltaire. Apparently, Gilderoy Lockhart has two older sisters who are squibs. With him not being very good at magic, perhaps the magic in his family is dying out. This is what we were talking about in the first part of this video, where Neville's saying about how he's almost a squib. Is squib on... To me, guys, you have the wizard's scale, like Gilderoy Lockhart, Voldemort and Harry Potter, Dumbledore. And then over here, you have another chart, squib. So squib is no part of this. This makes no sense. Wait, it's a great visual though, especially because I am planning on putting out audio exclusive versions of these eventually, guys. So you're going to check out the video to see what I'm doing right now. It's quite strange. So yeah, it does sound like squibs are people who are so bad at magic that they can't do magic, rather than people who just can't do magic. There is a difference. Love it, love it. Also, supposedly Dolores Umbridge has a brother who is one. No way! Which is very interesting considering her behaviour as the Inquisitor. Yeah, no, but she's... Is she? Well, she has a Horcrux, but only after old Thingy-Bobby. Interesting. Towards Muggle-born wizards. Yeah. In Deathly Hallows. Well, in Deathly Hallows, she does have a Horcrux. So she's not in her right mind completely. Although her right mind isn't much better. Umbridge having a squib brother. Fascinating. Okay, thank you very much for that great bit of information. And Lizette, I'm so sorry if I'm saying your name wrong, rounds it off with, I think it is interesting that Harry's first experience with wizard dueling is Snape using Expelliarmus spell to such a great effect. Absolutely. Right. We've had a couple of comments saying about how Snape is the one who is technically teaching Harry Expelliarmus. That is some major setting up for the entire series, quite frankly. Great comment, Lizette. I'm so sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. That, my friends, is another book club finished. I'm beaming. I love reading your... I was going to say freaking comments, but that sounds really rude. I love reading your comments, guys. It is greatly appreciated by me. If you want to be part of it, you can check it out on the Patreon. If you can't afford a Patreon, guys, don't worry. When these videos become public on YouTube, leave your comments there, and I will still have read them. But like I say, you also get access to the full-length version of Arcane, which I thoroughly enjoyed. The full-length version of Buffy as well. Buffy again. And the movie reactions that I do as well. Love every single one of you guys. Thank you so much for putting up with the times between these videos. These have been great chapters. I can't see Lockhart not being my favourite character from the book, guys. We'll see. We still got several chapters to go. And Hermione pulled out of the bag at the last minute for me on the first book. So we shall see. Let me know who your favourite character is from the book. And let's plow on to the next 3 chapters. I hope to see you in the book club there. Please subscribe, all that good stuff. I'm VeggieGamer, and I'll see you next time.